Hi, Dr. Faraz Harsini. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being on the show. I really appreciate your time for this interview, and I'm sure so will my viewers. So, the first thing that I start out with is asking where you're situated right now.
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Okay. And then, can you tell us about your journey into veganism?
Yeah, I think I grew up liking animals like many other people. I even did some activities in order to help animals. I was against hunting. I was trying to stop people from buying goldfish. The backstory is that I'm from Iran, so there's a Persian tradition that for Persian New Year we buy goldfish, and millions of this fish die in this process. And so I was trying to actually stop that. So when I finally left Iran, um, I mean, by then I had never heard of veganism or animal rights. So all of that was just by myself. In fact, the beginning of my bachelor's thesis was dedicated to animals, but never heard of animal rights. I thought I had to eat meat, all that, until I left Iran about 2012 or so. And then one of my friends, from whom I asked help to design a graphic design to encourage Iranians not to buy goldfish, she said, she refused to help me and said, it doesn't make sense. You already eat animals, and here you're trying to help them. So I was, butthurt for a while. And then I realized that she had a point after 3 months. She never really showed me anything, which I think if she did, I would have changed a lot faster. But this was like a process in my mind. I'm like one of those people who said I would never go vegetarian, and even I'm shameful to admit that even when I thought about animals, I said, sorry, animals, just like 1 second of killing you versus I just love meat so much. But still, I felt really guilty, so I started not buying meat at home. But one day, finally, I got falafel, and someone offered me chicken, and I finally said no, thanks, I'm vegetarian, and it felt really good to sort of like stand up for something that I thought I believed in. And yeah, I was vegetarian for a couple of months because I just didn't know about meat, again, dairy. And once I learned about that, about 3 months later, I became vegan.
Wow. Yeah. And so some of us, when we first hear about it, we say we're not gonna do this. We don't want to hear it. Uh, but I'm glad that myself, just like you, decided to get past that because obviously it's not the right thing to do. Now, can you tell me what inspired you to pursue a career in biomedical science? And um, and then how did you become interested in animal rights advocacy?
Ever since I was in college, I always ask myself what's something better I can do with my career that helps the world um, in the best way. And the answer sort of changed as I learned different things and depending on my interest. My bachelor was chemical engineering, and even during my bachelor research, I became interested in environmental protection and sort of, uh, studying biofuels and energy and sustainability. And then I'm a musician, so I started going to hospitals and playing music for patients who were suffering from cancer. So seeing them suffering, I was like, I guess I want to do something in this area. That's why I switched my major to biomedical sciences and cancer research and all that. After my doctorate, I worked on pandemics and zoonotic diseases, which again, the whole time the thought that many of the diseases come from eating animals. Like right now, we have bird flu again. surprise, surprise. Like I can already tell you that even if we are past this, mark my word, there's going to be another one. There's going to be another one. As long as we're eating, meat, egg, dairy, we're just going to have more of these. And it's not rocket science. I'm not the only one who says that. Every biologist would tell you. But throughout this process, I also became vegan. And another form of suffering that I always neglected and really never thought about was animal suffering. And I always say, mathematically, rationally, logically, ethically, show me something that causes more suffering, it has more victims, and it's larger in scale. I'll stop what I do and go do that. So if I have one life and I have to pick my battle, I don't see any cause better than animal rights. And the degree by which we exploit animals is so high that it has started becoming a public health threat as well as um, uh, environmental threat. So, ironically, I always say veganism is like a triple point for me. So, it like working on veganism or animal rights. First of all, it targets the most neglected, the most voiceless, and defenseless. But at the same time, it has benefits for the environment and public health that I always wanted to protect. And when it comes to public health, I was a cancer researcher, but again, I asked myself, even if I wanted to do biomedical sciences, what is number one cause of death? And it's heart disease. And heart diseases are also entirely preventable. So I had this dilemma that how come the number one cause of death in our species is preventable? As if we have the cure, which is eating healthy and exercising, and we still decide to die from this disease. And so even if I wasn't vegan, I think that still the best way to help people would have been through like reducing the risk of heart disease and diabetes and cancer, which again would point at me towards promoting plant-based diet and lifestyle medicine. So it seems all in all the best thing to do with one's career, not just for me, but I would say anyone with any interest can find a career in this area, just because it's so diverse and you can tackle it from any of these angles: health, environment, animals. But to me, I think that um, the most successful people, the most passionate people, I guess, are those who think about this as an ethical issue, and they understand that every second animals are dying, 5,000 per second, and we just don't have time to waste.
Very good. So, and then what inspired you to start the Allied Scholars for Animal Protection, which is your organization?
Yeah, I just see a lot of potential in universities. I think that I did a lot of outreach in my time, and I always thought about, when you talk to someone on the street, which I think we should be doing. I'm not saying that we shouldn't. But when you talk to someone on the street, you never see them. Sometimes they have family, they already have a job. So you never hear from them again. But if you take that outreach and focus it, given the fact that our resources, everything is limited, our money, time, everything, volunteers. But if you take those resources and put it in universities where we have captive audience for 4 years, at least 4 years, sometimes even more for medical school and law school, and every single day expose them to veganism, every single day try to, one day you teach them about animal rights, the other day, next day about benefits of plant-based diet for environment and health, and lectures, and working with Dining Halls to have more vegan food and make it easier for everyone to be vegan. And it's like every day, every student is exposed to veganism. And that makes a bigger impact because you can focus your resources. And then because it's a captive audience, that's a very huge benefit. And then also your audience is young, open-minded, on average. If they become vegan, they're going to be vegan longer. They're more likely to impact the next generation after them. They're more likely to donate to animal rights movement, or even better, choose careers that align with these values. And that happens. Like I've done that many times. And I see that sometimes it takes a 5 minute conversation for someone to go vegan. But then you can actually have this community in university that invites them, trains them, makes them an activist, or helps them to have careers that will forever change their life and changes their the life of animals. And it's really like a snowball thing. It's incredible. So, but knowing that at the moment there is no infrastructure for this to happen, students oftentimes don't have supports. Student groups just come and go. Some vegan come together, start a group, they graduate, everything dies. Even some of them who decide to do something, all they do is like potlucks, and potlucks are good, but with potlucks you're not gonna change the world. You're not gonna make anybody vegan. So we have to proactively reach out to everyone. That's why we have all these posters. Veganism is a moral urgency. We put up everywhere. It's like consistent exposure, and that requires an external, organization that sort of organizes students and mentors them. And so that's where we come in. And so far, we had a great luck, and we are getting more requests from students than we can actually handle, which is a great news.
So, Allied Scholars for Animal Protection, you engage and support students and young professionals in animal advocacy. So, you help them and teach them how to do the advocacy, how to try to affect change.
Yeah, exactly. So I think about it as people are on this spectra. Some of them are vegan, but they don't necessarily have that fire. They're just plant based. So we want them to understand veganism is a moral urgency. So if even if you like art and STEM, and no matter what, you can do something with your career to help animals. And so, in other words, to activate vegans. So that's very important, because lots of funders and philosophers and doctors and lawyers who advocate for plant-based diet or veganism, unfortunately, a lot of them are in their 60s and 70s, and we just have a big gap of younger people. And most of these people became vegan completely by accident. And I just don't think that we can rely on people becoming vegan by accident. All of us, almost all of us, became vegan because someone accidentally at the right time, at the right place, told us something or showed us something, or we were going down this rabbit hole on YouTube and saw something. It was completely by accident. It cannot be by accident. Everybody has to be educated. So that's with vegans. Then you have vegetarians, reducitarians, whatever the hell that means. Um, and everyone who's like trying to take a step. And then for them, the goal would be to help them to actually go vegan and give up that little cheese and egg, and understand that this is like a ethical movement. It's not about, if I was racist and I was 99% racist, sorry, like 1% racist, you will not accept that from me. If I was beating a dog and I said, meatless Mondays, I'm not beating this dog on Mondays, you'll not be impressed by me. When it comes to injustice, there is only one way to go about it, and that's abolition of injustice. And it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be kind and compassionate and understanding and supportive of those who are taking a step. That's not what I'm saying. We should definitely help them and encourage them. But I'm saying we need to help them to finally go vegan and see it as an ethical thing. Then you have probably everyone in between who is neutral and just doesn't think about this stuff. For them, we want to make animal rights in the center of their mind, so they think about it, and many of them will change. And then you have this other opposite end where you have farmers and hunters and perhaps more conservative Christian folks, and that's okay. We also want to engage with them, because just yesterday I was at Texas A&M. This guy came to me pretty, he came in pretty hot. I could tell that he was he was respectful, but he was like, why are you saying like veganism is a moral urgency? So because I got that, I was actually really calm, and I told him that we just want to respect animals and we want to make sure that we live, like, suppose there was a way that we could live our lives without harming animals. And then he had a question about hunting. But this guy, I don't know if he went vegan afterwards, but he shook my hand and it was the first time he actually heard a good argument for veganism. So I'm pretty sure next time he's gonna hear about vegans, he's not gonna think of, oh, vegans are just these crazy people who eat grass, rather that, oh, I had a good discussion with this. So that's also a progress. But I would say there are so many people, you talk to them for 5 minutes, they would say, I was vegetarian, I gave up because they didn't have support, or I want to go vegan, maybe after college, it's like expensive, and you then help them that it's actually not expensive. So many potential like that, and we are letting all of that go because I don't know why, because we never really focused on what we were trying to do. So there's nothing I want to do more than this. There is so much potential.
And I love that you have a statement on your website: in the face of injustice, silence is not an option. And like you were talking about people who eat plant-based before. And one of the things that I try to talk about when I'm talking about veganism is that really I consider it myself, I consider it a social justice movement, because it's not about a diet. It encompasses so many things, and we need vegans to kind of step up and not be silent, just like your statement. We need to make a stand, and it doesn't have to be one that's full of anger or with harsh words, but still, like you said, educating people who have been conditioned for all their lives and their ancestors before that. So we have to break through those little walls. And with regards to people who are older who turn vegan, you know, you're right, Dave. I'm not sure if it's by accident, but I think that it's all of a sudden a revelation comes, and they finally connect it, and you'll hear everyone, well, a lot of people who've gone vegan and go, "Why didn't I do this before?" I mean, that's what they regret the most, that they did not have this information before. They did not make the connection before.
Yeah, and if people don't have the information, how can we expect them to do better, right? So the very first thing that we need to solve is people are exposed to truth, um, and have the right information. Then we can just go about like even encouraging them to go vegan. But that's why one of the most effective events that we have is just simply showing the footage of Dominion on campuses, and people are horrified. Like, people don't understand why eating meat, egg and dairy is wrong. Like, they don't know, they don't think about male chicks and male baby calves being slaughtered. We are not taught that, right? And the second they see it, you can see their faces. I mean, 1 out of 100 is a troll, but 99% of people are like, they genuinely care about animals. So, but they just don't know, or they try not to think about it. But you're right. I think that veganism is just the bare minimum that we can do. And for whoever is vegan and is listening to this, like, I love you for taking action and doing the right thing. Especially in this environment that you're told that you're in the, you're gonna die. Everyone tries to seed doubt in your mind that, oh, you're gonna die from protein deficiency, and or mock you or jokes about it and makes a scene about all of that. So just the fact that you had the courage to do the right thing in this environment, I think I really admire that. But I also want you to know that veganism is really the bare minimum. It's like, when you think about it, it should not be a word. We don't have a word for someone who's not racist, because we are not supposed to be racist. We don't have a word for someone who doesn't litter, because we are not supposed to litter. We shouldn't have a word for somebody who doesn't exploit animals, because it should be that way naturally. But it just tells you how normalized animal exploitation has become, that we need a word to describe someone who doesn't participate in that cult. And so, yeah, just know that it's the bare minimum. And once you become vegan, the next step is really how to get active. And there are many ways to get active. If you're super shy like myself, you don't necessarily have to go on the street. It could be online activism, it could be writing reviews, it could be promoting books, it could be going on the street and talking to people. It's just like doing something, donating your money, whatever that is, just doing something about it.
And let me ask you a question. So, especially nowadays, with the state of, so many recalls on food because our soil is being degraded, our air is being polluted, our water is, being also, um, how do you call it, kind of poisoned. And then this is what we use, the soil, the water, and the air that we use to plant our food. And we have so many recalls. So I think that everyone who's um, eating, and that should be everyone, right? Is taking their lives into their own hands as well, because not only do we have to worry about pandemics, but also that you take food home that's in the grocery store and it's contaminated.
Yep, that's why I don't think like eating animal products is the farthest one can get from like personal choice, because it just impacts everyone in so many ways. I give lectures about how, like, for 2 hours I could talk about just how one feedlot could have incredible negative impact on environment and communities, not just surrounding communities, but how these pollutions can get carried on to potentially other countries with dust and wind, and how they pollute rivers that impact different states. It's crazy that the impact that animal industry has, and we are just silent. So yeah.
And you know what else I don't understand is this, that if something was affecting people's health, people's life, the earth, usually you would have someone say, okay, we got to stop this. We got to find a way to change what we're doing to something different. And yet that is not happening. And everyone who eats flesh, right, they're affecting the fact that our planet is dying, that their health is being compromised, and not to, of course, and the animals are dying for no good reason.
Absolutely.
So, how can individuals and communities get involved with Allied Scholars for Animal Protection and support your mission?
Well, there are different ways. If you're a student, you can check out our website and contact us. Um, our job is to support students and scholars. If you're a professor or faculty, the same. The reason I called it Allied Scholars, not students, because we also want to find faculty and really just build this movement in universities. Um, Others, you can, if you're into animal rights, if you have experience, every single semester we go on a tour, we visit different campuses to make veganism impossible not to come across for 2 or 3 days, 8 to 10 hours a day. So we need more volunteers to join us do that. You can look at the list of our universities on our website. We're in about 20 universities right now. The goal is to be on top 100. Um, if you live in one of those cities, you can always volunteer. We need people to just go to university and poster around. And most importantly, also with donations, because we are a very lean organization. I'm still not taking salary at ASAP. We have one full-time employee, and over 95% of our donations go directly to our programming, which is very unlike any other organization, just because we are very small and we rely on volunteers for the most part. So, yeah, donations will also be very helpful. You can go to Allied Scholars /donate. That would be extremely helpful as we are trying to expand our team, because we are all at capacity. Everyone at the team works like over 12 hours a day. So, which is exactly the environment I want. I want nothing less. Like, we need to be working, 12 to 16 hours a day for animals. But that just means that I also need to expand the team.
And so, students across the country, across the world, whatever, they can reach out, and I'll have your website address with
Yeah,
this video, can reach out to the organization and say, hey, I would like to volunteer, or hey, I would like to get this going at our school, and your organization will help them.
exactly.
Okay. So any last words that you have for our viewers that you might want to impart?
Just speak up. I think this is the biggest ethical challenge of our time. There is nothing that comes close to this in terms of the amount of neglectedness and the scale of suffering and how normalized it has become. There are, of course, other problems in the world that I care about and you care about, but there's nothing that is as neglected as this. And um, unfortunately, we are a minority, but the good news is that no other social movement really started by majority. If it was that way, it wouldn't be as much of a uh, cool thing if majority was on board. I guess that they were all cool and impressive because they all started by a minority that did the right thing, and this is not an exception. So we are that minority. We are living 100 years ago when a few people were like, slavery is wrong. Maybe, perhaps we should not be doing this. And then they took the matter in their own hands and they protested or whatever they did. Now, what they did could be a different thing at different times, but the idea is that we are that minority and we need to not be cupcake vegans. There are so many things that we can do to help the movement, and we should just get out of our comfort zone and do whatever it's needed to be done. Uh, yeah, like anything in our power. If you're younger, you can consider your careers to be aligned with this. If you can't change your job, then volunteering and donating and something as simple as, I'll just give you one example. Most places on Google or Yelp have not more than, at most they have 300 reviews. Sometimes it's like 20. Just imagine if like 100 vegans just decided when they went and they didn't get a good vegan option, instead of getting upset, or in addition to getting upset, they actually wrote a review and said, hey, I'm not going to come back to this place because they didn't have good options, and gave it a 1 star. If 50 vegan did that, they could easily impact the income of those businesses. That's the power we have that we are not using. Um, Same thing when you go to a vegan business, you really like it, you give them a positive review so they don't go out of business, because sometimes they're more expensive than other places. So just simple acts like that, everybody can donate probably 10% their income without hurting anything. There is, volunteering and so many other things. The important thing is just pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and do something.
And yes, that is great advice. And especially now, during this time coming up, that we need to really not stay quiet in order to help the animals and ourselves and the planet.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
thank you so very much for being on the Vegan Pulse. I surely appreciate it.
My pleasure.
Thank you for your time and for what you do.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Bye bye.